Record. All right. Did you hear that recording in
I
progress?
did.
Okay, so let me turn this up a little bit. Why don't you so we haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had you reflect on the last time that we met and to journal any of your baby steps, your small leaps of faith.
Yes. I have a document I was typing in. Now, the past 2 weeks, I've kind of gone through like a depressive episode, so I haven't done everything every day, but I know like doing something new every day takes time when you're not used to doing that thing every day. So
that's true. That's true.
Some of the things that I did, I signed up for a website to help me write with people, like write stories together to get my creativity going.
Okay.
I thought about ways that I could bring myself closer to my passions. So I want to buy a lyra for my aerial rig, which is like a metal hoop that you do circus art on.
Okay.
And I've done that before, but I don't have my own for my rig. I only have the silks. So I made a little, I made a little note to start working up for that. And doing that, I thought about how like I'm going to need to learn how to work through some of my discomfort when I'm doing food deliveries. So like sometimes I'll get an order for a place that maybe I've never been to before, and I'll be like, no, I'm not going to go because I've never been there before. But when I was doing deliveries that day, I was like, well, maybe I should just try and see how it goes. And so I did that, and I was able to make a little bit more money than I normally would have.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me, I want to stop you right there for that one. When you're feeling nervous or you're questioning whether you should go into these neighborhoods, is it an intuitive thing? Do you know the difference between when you're feeling anxious and when it's like an intuitive issue?
Sometimes I can tell the difference, but when it comes to like driving and deliveries, I get really anxious sometimes when I'm going new places because I have this terrible fear of getting lost. But I have a harder time distinguishing intuition from just anxiety when it comes to that kind of thing.
Okay, but this one turned out to be positive.
Yeah.
This time, so you're able to make some more money. That might be something that we could work on, is really helping you to acknowledge or become more aware of when it's in your intuition, which would be in keeping with what you are supposed to be learning in your North Node, Sagittarius North Node.
Right. Okay.
To overthinking, second guessing,
which is what I do a lot.
Right. Based in anxiety, like there has to be this one perfect right way, right thing. Don't get in trouble. Don't, that's going to be out of your Gemini South Node.
Right.
So
right.
maybe we need to work, us or you with your therapist, to also work on becoming more clear and in tune with intuition versus overthinking / anxiety.
Yeah, that's definitely like a big central issue that I've got, is things are going on in my head, and sometimes I know when it's intuition, but a lot of the times I just assume that it's all anxiety and I need to ignore it. My mom used to tell me a lot that everything was just in my head, that it didn't make it, like it wasn't valid. So a lot of the times when things pop up, I'm like, no, I guess that's just in my head, or I'll just listen to it anyway because I'm so used to listening to my anxiety.
Your anxiety. Yeah. Well, right there, I just heard, my mom always told me it's just in your head. So that can also plant a seed to not trust your intuition. So maybe some things were in your head and maybe they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But those kinds of seeds. So you have to take back learning to trust yourself. And I'll just say intuition feels fairly calm. And it can be very subtle or it can be very strong, but it feels like just a sort of like a knowing.
Right.
And then anxiety will feel, well, you know what anxiety feels like, right?
Definitely.
Going back and forth and arguing. But,
Yes.
What happens when you do have a sense about something, right? What happens when you have a sense about something, but you've been taught that you can't really trust yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I do learn to do for myself, and I have clients do, is as a practice, I can't remember if we talked about this or not, is if you get an inkling to do something, and maybe that's what part of this was I don't know about going into this area, but I'm going to push
Might as
myself.
well try.
Yeah. So those are sort of like leaps of faith, but just on a regular basis, let's say you're driving along or you're planning to go somewhere, even you're walking through the grocery store and your normal routine, your normal route, but for some reason, something says take a left instead of a right.
Yeah.
Just like a urge. Like,
That reminds me the other day, I woke up kind of late because I've been having trouble with my sleep schedule and I've been working on that, but I woke up kind of late and I was like, I don't think I'm going to go to work today. Something's telling me not to go. And then like 10 minutes later, my mom texts me and tells me that there's gumbo at the house and I should come over and get some gumbo. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm coming over.
So you felt that was a win.
Yeah.
It worked for gumbo.
It did.
Okay. So, yeah. So, again, it's just a practice. It's a practice in letting go and seeing what pops up. And maybe, yay, gumbo shows up at your door or mom's door.
Yep.
Okay. So what else did you do to take small leaps of faith?
So I did a little bit of inner child work because I know that's one of the things that we talked about. And I bought poster board to like make a vision board to try and like be able to see the things that I want to do every day so that I can remember it better. Because right now I don't really have anything reminding me of what I'm working towards. So I haven't done the vision board yet, but I did buy the poster board and I got some paint markers to be working on that. Let's see. I fixed my sleep schedule. So I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning, which that's going to help me be able to go to work earlier and be able to make the money I need to support myself a little better.
Okay. You adjusted your sleep schedule?
Yeah, because I was like waking up at like 6 p.m. and staying awake until 9 a.m. And so, yeah, my sleep schedule was completely reversed and I got it back to where I'm awake during the day and going to bed at night. It's really hard for me to keep up with that because I'm just naturally someone who wants to stay up all night. But food deliveries is how I make money. And, food deliveries usually close at like 11 p.m. So if I'm waking up at 6 p.m., that doesn't really leave me any chances to do anything. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last thing that I kind of think is a leap of faith is I've been thinking about how I'm going to be able to support myself while I'm working towards some of these things. And I think that would probably mean moving back to Washington, not like right this second, but maybe I need to be working towards that for like the end of the year because all my friends are there. people that I know who do tattooing are there, and I can make $19 an hour within just a couple of weeks of moving there with only working 3 days a week. So that would give me time to not worry so much about whether or not I can make deliveries. And then in my off days, be able to relax enough to do something.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that particular thing, moving to Washington, or even just, thinking about it, feels to me like really where I want you to go in
Right.
terms of taking those leaps of faith.
Yeah, and that's very scary for me because, like, even though I've lived in Washington before, technically I've moved to Texas and back to Washington multiple times. Even with that, it's a very scary thing because it is something that I think about, like, oh, is that the right choice? Like, how am I going to do this perfectly? Like, I don't want any mistakes. I don't want to make the same mistakes I did before. So it's kind of intimidating, but I do kind of think, I do kind of think that it would put me into a better situation, though.
Okay, yeah, there is a practical element to it there. So it's interesting, the little dance that that the Gemini is playing with the Sagittarian nodes, right? Because it makes sense. You don't want to be the fool, right? Or you're taking a leap of faith, but it's again, the Fool card has on one side, foolishness, but on the more positive side, it's following those inspired, intuitive thoughts, ideas, feelings, sensations.
Right.
So, and then when we move into the magician adds to the inspiration, adds the practical pieces, right? It adds, how do I think, and what do I speak, and what do I do? How do I move? How do I, put it all together?
Right.
So I really like that. And do you have a certain time frame?
I was thinking, because originally I'd really wanted to dedicate the first 6 months of the year to like working on myself and mental health. So I'm thinking late June, early July would be what I'm kind of looking towards. And I have talked to one of my friends there, and I told her what I was thinking, and she was like, I would be interested in getting another apartment with you if you do that. So we can be thinking about that. And then I talked to another friend about it, and I don't know that I would stay with him because we have a complicated history, but he told me that I could stay there for, however long I needed to get the job and place going. So I have options.
It sounds like it. Okay. And you've got some time to come up with, what this is really going to look like, with a goal by June, July, something like that. Okay. So anything else I should say before we jump in?
No, that's really it. I kind of wish that I'd done more, but I know, like, working with depression sometimes is hard, and my therapist was telling me, when it comes to healing, there's always going to be a down period. Like, that's just a part of the process. So I'm gonna try not to beat myself too much about it.
That's right. Very good. Okay. So what I always want to ask you what you want from the session today. I'll let you know what I kind of was planning, but what are you hoping to get from today or look at?
Well, I guess since the moving thing is one of the biggest leaps that I'm kind of thinking about, maybe just something to shed some light on how I can make that process easier for myself. Or maybe not easier, but like, so I can distinguish what thoughts I'm having that are thoughts I need to ignore.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's do that. Okay, I wanted to shuffle these other cards. The deck that I got out is called Past Life It's
Ooh.
past life oracle cards. Okay. It's a Doreen Virtue a deck that she did with Brian Weiss, who I don't know if I told you about Brian Weiss, but
No, I don't think so.
yeah, okay. So he is a psychiatrist that did hypnotherapy, and he's written several books now, but a while back he took a client back accidentally to a past life. And that particular client started remembering multiple past lives. And then he was able to continue to have these experiences with other clients. And so this
That's
is a
really
little
interesting.
this is really interesting. So maybe we'll have you read some of Brian Weiss's work. Okay, so my plan was, let's look at what potential past lives, and you can apply it however you want. We can look at your past, you know, your as
I
a kid.
always do wonder what I was in a past life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, so we can explore that. But we'll put this to the side and just grab some tarot cards and see. Okay, so what are my thoughts? You want to know about moving. You want to know what your thoughts are about moving. Is that what you said? And
I don't really know how to phrase what I'm wanting, but I know that I tend to self-sabotage when I'm moving towards the right direction. So I
okay.
just need to figure out how to not do that.
Figure out how to not self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. Okay, so we're going to talk to your inner saboteur. All right.
All right, let's see what she's.
Yes, let's talk to the inner saboteur. This is a part, okay? Okay, do you have a pen and paper available there?
I have my laptop
Okay,
with an open document.
okay. Well, you have a recording anyway. By the way, did you go and re-watch the recordings at all?
I did.
Okay.
So it's helpful to have that to look back at when I'm kind of foggy on what cards were coming up.
You're right. What about, did you show it to your therapist? Did you work?
I didn't show it to her. I didn't ask you, but I wasn't sure if I could share that link with her. But
Oh, yeah. Yes.
yeah, I will. We did talk about it. She was very curious as to how it went, and I was telling her, and she thinks it's so interesting, and she's super excited for us.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to talk to the inner saboteur here. Okay. So the first question is, what is your purpose or role? Okay. So we're going to talk to this part that you're saying sabotages you. Okay. I want to make a disclaimer. All of the parts have rules. So these different voices sometimes that we hear, are arguing, they play roles.
Right.
But they're there. It doesn't necessarily feel positive or seem positive, but to them,
They were established for a purpose.
yes. Okay. So we really want to honor what comes out. Okay. All right. So again, can you see yeah, you can see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay. So just tell me when you get that intuitive nudge. Okay. Tell me when to stop. Okay. So Saboteur, what is your purpose or role?
Stop. The Fool. That's funny.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. I can't remember if we used this deck or if we used another deck.
I think we used a different deck last time.
Okay. So can you see this image?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what you see there.
It looks like somebody's about to walk into a crocodile that's going to eat them.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So what are you
Headed for disaster.
Okay, yes. So interesting, right? We just talked about the Fool.
Mhm.
We just talked about the Fool, and that it can, when you see, okay, so there's this image here, right? I'm going to get the traditional image out so you can also see what I was talking about in terms of the Fool. When you see the image of the Fool, it can appear that the person is being foolish, is not paying attention, isn't, being very mindful or practical, if you will, right?
Mhm.
However, like I said, on the more positive side, the Fool doesn't know what it doesn't know. It's pure inspiration. It's pure impulse, right?
Right.
And if you think about it, if you didn't have that, or if you never listened or trusted your impulse, I also call it life force, what would you do ever?
Nothing.
Okay, so look at this image now.
Oh, yeah. So that one looks more like he's just strolling along, having a good time, and just doesn't happen to see that he's about to walk off a cliff.
Yeah, doesn't happen to see he's about to walk off a cliff. Okay. If you go a little bit deeper, let's go back to this original card. So we're talking to your inner saboteur. And we said, what is your purpose? What is your role? The saboteur is showing you this image. What do you think it wants to tell you about its role?
It's trying to prevent me from walking into situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't know that those situations would even be there.
Mm-hmm. It wants to prevent you from harming yourself or doing something foolish, right? Because you're not aware that it's there, right? Potential,
Right.
You're not aware of potential danger there. Okay. So when you say that, what seems to make sense to you, or does that resonate for you at all?
I mean, it makes sense that, my inner saboteur would want to stop me from making mistakes or ending up hurt. But then at the same time, like, I don't know that I would make a mistake. And if I did, maybe it's one that I needed to learn from.
Okay. Yes.
So like I can't really learn from anything if I don't take a chance to take a step forward.
Yeah. So there's this other part that says, that's also within the Fool, which is, but I don't, if I keep if I keep myself so safe, then I can't expand, then I can't do the things that I want to do. I'll never learn, I'll never know.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Keep you from hurting yourself.
I also kind of think that maybe that also kind of has to do with my mom, because she harped on me a lot when I was a kid. So if I were to tell her these grand ideas that I had, it would just end in a lecture, or, her telling me, well, think about this, think about that. What if this happens? What if that happens? But if I develop that voice in my own head, it would prevent me from even getting to her with that idea. So I wouldn't have to hear it from her. I just cut it off at the source.
Yeah. You don't want to hear all of this, becoming overwhelmed in fear, negativity. You shouldn't, you can't. What about all the what ifing? So rather than, I think what I'm hearing you say is, rather than become shut down by your mom, you learned to shut yourself down.
Yeah.
Mostly because, so what was it about mom doing all the what ifing that you didn't want to experience? What was that like when she'd go into that, her own anxiety?
Like, it would just make me feel like what I wanted wasn't good enough, and that I wasn't good enough, that I couldn't just be myself because she wasn't going to approve.
Okay. Yeah. So now we went to, I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So purpose is to keep you from making a mistake, but underneath that also is that my ideas are not good enough. I'm not good enough. I can't achieve.
Yeah,
Okay. That sounds about right. Okay. So how can, let's see, second question. How can I reassure you that I will not get hurt? Saboteur. Okay, so we're talking the saboteur.
Okay.
How can I reassure you that I will not get hurt? And then the next question is that, how can I reassure you that I am good enough? Put that in quotes. Okay. So stop me when you're ready, okay? I will not get hurt.
Stop. King of Wands. Didn't we get that card a lot last time too? I forget what it means, but what was it?
This is my little stalker card right now as well. Okay, so let me show you another image of the King of Wands. Well, what do you see him doing there?
He looks like he's marching to the beat of his own drum.
That's exactly what he's doing. Okay. And does he look frightened?
I might have to see him again to see what what he looks like.
Okay, let me grab the other image.
Okay.
So here's the traditional image.
Okay. So he's just like looking ahead.
Mhm.
No, he's not scared. He just looks like he's, I don't know, kind of determined in a way.
Yeah, that's right. Very determined. And I mean, this guy, he's very well dressed. And he's, got fire, like flames coming off, from his chest, which, I suppose if you saw a guy marching down the field on fire, you might be afraid for him, right? But he's like not batting an eye. He looks very calm and confident.
He's just warm.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, the King of Wands is fire energy. Okay, so now we're looking at, if we were going to say, all right, well, we're looking at your North Node and your South Node. This is Sagittarian energy. Okay,
Right.
or any of the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. All right, and fire element again is like your life force. It's also connected to action, spirituality, passion, inspiration. Okay.
Right.
So how will you, what do you get from this? Is it in terms of what we just asked it? How can I reassure you that I will not get hurt?
Well, I guess what it kind of tells me is that even if I do get hurt, like even if I'm on fire, I'm going to keep walking forward. So
Okay.
like, it doesn't really matter if I get hurt.
Okay. It doesn't really matter. We're going to ask, okay. Because we'll keep walking forward. Okay. I am good enough. Okay. How can I reassure you that I am good enough?
I hope the cards have an answer.
Okay. Let's see.
Stop.
Okay.
7 of Pentacles.
What do you see there?
She's holding a very big fruit.
Uh-huh. It's an apple half.
I'm kind of sitting on top of a tree or the world.
Mm-hmm. She's sitting on top of like a tree that's both in bloom and also has, so it's got the flowers, but it also has the fruit on it.
Mhm.
There's a rake. I'll just describe it more because I'm sure it's kind of hard to see. There's a
Yeah.
rake leaning up against the tree. She's up on top of the tree, like she climbed up to the top, and she's holding a halved apple, which of course you can then see the seeds inside the apple. So we've
Mhm.
got like we've got the whole life cycle here, right?
Right.
And she's sitting on top of it, has put the rake
So she must be
to the
tending
side.
away.
She must what?
Looks, well, I guess if she's got the rake, that means she's kind of working on the area around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me grab the traditional image. You might be able to see it. They're just a little bit more simplistic but very like profound in their symbolism. So let me see if I can. Now Pentacles is going to be anything that you've like manifested. So it can be work, it can be money, it can be anything that you can say like, I have this thing. Okay. I created this thing. I built this thing. I think I already said made. In this case with the tree, right? Like I grew this thing. I worked on this thing. Here it is, almost at the bottom of the deck. Okay.
That one's a bit different than the other one. He's
It
just
is
like
a
looking
little bit.
down at it all.
I'm sorry.
He's just looking down at it all, like kind of admiring his stack.
Yes, he's definitely in contemplation. I mean, he's looking at it. He's kind of resting, if you will. Okay. So when we're looking at the 7, we're in between the very beginning, the Ace of Pentacles, and then the last in the suit, the King. So it's right in the middle, right? So what do you think that means in terms of building something, working on something, doing something? And in terms of our question, how can I reassure you that I am good enough? What do you see? What is that? What's the saboteur? Or what are you saying to the saboteur?
I guess that if I want to be good enough, I'm going to have to climb a little higher and find out. Like, can't just sit there and be good enough.
Okay. Yeah, can't just sit there and be good enough. It requires more work, maybe? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
it would require more work from me and more steps forward to find out if I'm good at whatever I'm thinking about.
Mm-hmm. I also want to point out, or I want to ask you, what do you make of the fact that all of this is here? I mean, it's grown, it's abundant. Also here, I mean, she's got the seeds, the apple, the tree, the more toiling here she needs to do if she wants to.
Right.
What do you make of that in terms of being good enough? I can reassure you that I am good enough.
I guess looking at it that way, it would be like, I'm already good enough. Like, I don't need to do anything else to be good enough. Like, I already have all of these things, and it's not going to hurt me if I don't get this one little thing that I'm after.
Okay. Either way, won't necessarily hurt you. You'll keep moving forward, but you've worked on some things.
Right.
You've worked on some things, and now you're trying to figure out, well, what comes next. But either way, it's okay if I pick up that rake and start raking, or if I decide I'm just going to sit here and eat an apple, or I decide I'm going to take my apple seeds and go plant more little trees somewhere. But no matter what, you've already done some work. So what comes up for you when you say that?
Just learning to appreciate how far I've come in life already. Like, I used to be so anxious and so depressed that I literally didn't leave my room ever. Like, I couldn't make phone calls. I couldn't like talk to people out in the world. And I wasn't forced to get better. I decided to do that myself. And that took a lot of work for me to do, but I did it. And then I wasn't forced to move to Washington the first time, but I I did, and I made a whole life for myself there. Whether it was difficult or not, that's a whole other story. But
Mhm.
but I did it, and I don't really give myself that acknowledgement very often that I have done a lot of work and accomplished a lot because I focus too much on the things that I haven't done.
There you go. Okay. Focus too much on the things that you haven't done, or the fears, or the, I could get hurt, make a mistake, I'm not good enough, all of these things, but actually you have done a lot. How does that
Mhm.
feel to say?
I mean, it feels good, but it also feels sad that I feel like I can't like appreciate myself for those things.
Mm, mhm,
Like,
yeah.
man, what made me not appreciate myself? That's not good.
Mm, mm. Um, should we ask?
Wouldn't hurt to ask.
Okay. Where or how did I learn to believe? Because it's just a belief, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Where did I learn to believe that I am not good enough? Now we already talked about that. Okay. But let's see what comes up in cards. Okay. You ready?
Mhm. Stop.
Knight of
Nice.
Swords.
It's floating on a feather.
Mhm. She is. And she's got a like a paintbrush, or a not a paintbrush, a like an old-fashioned pen, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Quill, something.
yeah, yeah. Either that, or I should look in the book and see exactly what she is holding. Um, but her dress is made of like newspaper print, and she's floating through some, kind of stormy clouds, but she is on a little white feather.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and on her dress it says, it's like a piece. So the words that you can see, it says, "Right is worth the cost." Okay. So I'll give you another look at that, and then I'm going to show you the traditional image.
Okay.
And I am going to read. I am going to read a book on this for you. What comes up just intuitively as you see this image, as it pertains to our question?
Well, it looks like she's kind of going through some storms. So I guess like going through difficult situations in life.
Hmm. What does that mean to you? Just share as much as you want.
Um, I guess it kind of reminded me of like very early on in childhood. I went through a lot. Like both of my grandparents passed away, and they meant a lot to me. And they were the
Mm,
people who basically raised me because my mom was always working when I was very young. And they didn't both pass away at the same time. My grandpa passed away first, and then I really did feel during that time that I wasn't good enough because my grandma started paying more attention to my brother during that time
mm,
and not so much to me anymore, which I kind of understand because my brother and my grandpa had a very close relationship, and he was obviously heartbroken. So she was probably just trying to make sure that he was okay, but
mm.
that's not how I felt at the time.
No, you told yourself that you didn't matter as much.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. And what was the truth of the matter? How were you feeling?
I mean, I guess just abandoned by both of them, even though she was still there. She wasn't really there for me anymore.
Mhm. So you're kind of left alone to deal with your
Yeah.
own grief
Grieving
or
on my
feelings.
own. Mhm.
Yeah. And then mom wasn't there either.
No.
She's busy. Okay. All right. So I want to show you the image, traditional image.
So he's going through some battles too.
Yeah, it's the same, but it's just it's interesting how
Represented a
different.
little differently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to me how they're represented a little differently. This one looks a little bit more, you know, uh,
Like he's charging ahead.
yes, a little more fierce and furious, I would say. But let me read out of the book. So how did you feel? You felt abandoned. Did you have any other feelings associated with abandonment?
I mean, when we're talking about not feeling good enough, I definitely didn't feel good enough then.
Yeah, okay.
I wasn't even deserving of somebody's time anymore.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine that was really hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah,
And
hurtful.
and I was dealing with the grief on my own because I didn't ever get any explanation. I mean, I was
Mhm.
very young when this happened. I want to say, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8. But my parents didn't explain to me what death meant or, anything like that.
Mhm.
And so I really was just there trying to figure it out on my own. And then, my grandma didn't really explain it to me either because she was preoccupied with my brother and everything else. I mean, she lost her husband too. So, as an adult, I can recognize that she was
Mhm.
going through her own grief.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I was really, as a kid, just all alone trying to figure
Mhm.
out what loss meant.
What loss meant. Yeah. And like, where do they go? Maybe even,
Yeah.
right? So you were dealing with a lot at that time.
Mhm.
I'm going to read you what this says, okay, and then we'll come back. This female Knight of Swords is flying on a feather through a rough, stormy sky. The clouds depict the aura of energy surrounding her, and the feather symbolizes the knight's ability to think fast on her feet. The news excerpt on her dress relates to women's equal rights, a cause she is battling for. The knight is fighting with her words, and she wants to win with her intellect. She holds her weapon, a pen, high in the sky and cuts clouds of opposition into pieces. Nothing can stop her ambitious dedication to the cause. The meaning, if you were reading it in a reading, unwavering devotion to a cause, ambition, opinionated, influential, and self-assurance. So when we look at this question, where did I learn to believe that I am not good enough? And we have this knight here. Needing to think fast on her feet, maybe.
Kind of confusing.
It is kind of confusing. What was coming to me when I was reading it is that, when we're children and we're trying to figure out things that happen, there's a part of us that is filling in the pieces if the adults aren't there to help us or to
Right.
attend to us. And so there's this thing called magical thinking where we kind of believe we're the center of the universe, right?
Mhm.
So as a child, while right now, logically, you can say she was going through a lot. My brother was close. Maybe she was attuning to him. Mom was
Mhm.
working a lot. But as a child, when the adults are not there for you, they're not paying attention, the
Right.
child is going to get real creative and start thinking, it must
Right.
be me.
Right. Like I must not be very important.
Yeah, I must not be very important. Okay. So it makes sense,
Mhm.
right? That you would feel those feelings or think those thoughts because there was no one there to tell you any differently
It's true.
or to explain, right? It really wasn't you.
Right. And with the card kind of talking about uh I guess like fighting for equality and all of that, it reminded me how like with my grandparents having sons and boys in the family was really important. I think that might have been like a generational thing. Like, the son of the house moves everything forward. And they had two sons, but they both had muscular dystrophy. So like
Mhm.
they really viewed my brother as their son, like who was gonna carry everything forward through the generations.
Mhm.
And I guess that would have made me feel like I was inferior because I wasn't a boy.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's huge. Okay. So, um, we're talking about, magical thinking, and we're talking about gender
Mhm.
um, messages.
Because like they were gonna leave him the house and everything and like their cars. He didn't end up getting them because when they both passed away, I guess it wasn't written in the will. It was just like understood among the family. And like my aunts, one of my aunts didn't want to do that. She ended up selling the house because she had run up so much debt. So she sold the house to pay off her bills instead of letting us keep the house in the family like it was meant to be. But that's what they wanted, is for him to have the house and the cars and everything.
How did that play out?
I mean, I was like, well, I'm older. What is
What about me?
what about me?
I matter too. I count.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's um, go back to the saboteur and ask the saboteur, where did I learn? Let me think about this, if this is the question I want to ask or not. Where did I learn to believe that? Okay. Okay, so the next question is to the saboteur, what would you do if you did not have to work so hard to protect me from hurt? So now we understand, I think, that the hurt is not only making a mistake, but feeling sad and hurt, alone, abandoned, that you don't, maybe, I don't know. I'll let you talk to that. What do you think about that when we're looking at this hurt a little further?
Um, I mean, really, it's just feeling alone. Like I've kind of felt like I've done the whole life thing alone so far. And I do have, I've made friends, but that hasn't been until very recent years, like the past 4 years, like up until that point that I started making more friends after I moved to Washington. I just felt like I was doing everything alone. And
Mhm.
it's really hard to want to do things and try new things when you feel like you're doing it alone and you don't have anyone to talk you up or share things with.
Sure.
Why
It's
would
almost like a reminder, right? Like if you don't have anyone there, it might be like a reminder of how alone you are.
Mhm.
Okay. Unless you go out and find friends or
Cho-
actively. What's that?
chosen family is what they
Yeah,
call it.
that's right. The chosen family. Okay. So let's go back and talk to the saboteur, who's very concerned that not only do you not get hurt, physically make a mistake, but emotionally.
Mhm.
Okay. So the question would be, what would you do, saboteur, if you didn't have to work so hard to protect me? Okay. All right. Ready?
Mhm. Stop. That's a weird card. I don't really know what to make of that.
What do you tell me what you see on it, and then I'll describe it more. What do you see?
It's like his shirt is the ocean. It's really he's kind of like blending into the background in a way.
In a way, yes. What do you think the artist might be saying here? So let me describe the shirt, because I'm not sure if you can see. So yes, he is kind of blending into the background. The sea is his shirt, and there are sharks swimming here in the dark, right? All these sharks kind of here in the well, down towards his lower body, but up here he's holding a ship, a very large ship, very straight. He's looking forward, looking pretty. I don't know. What do you think? What's his mindset, or how is he feeling?
I don't know.
Hard to tell, huh?
Tell what he's feeling.
So if you can't tell what he's feeling, what do you think he's thinking?
Um,
Is he afraid of the sharks?
he doesn't appear to be afraid of the sharks.
Mm-mm.
Like holding on to his boat. He's like, I got this boat and I'm safe. I'm away from the sharks.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like nothing to see here, right? Like nothing. He's very, he's able to be in his emotions and um, in stormy, challenging waters, which is emotions, and
Mhm.
remain pretty balanced and calm.
All right. Yeah, he does look really calm. Like he doesn't look sad or afraid. He's just chill.
He's just very chill, and he's able to really be, I mean, he's sensitive because his whole entire shirt is water. So that's indicative of, it's the King of Cups, right? He is an emotional person, but he doesn't get carried away. Like he can
Mhm.
feel them. He can know that there's sharks here, but
Mhm.
Like, I'm okay. I can deal with it. I've been through this before. I've dealt with it before. I
Mhm.
can be calm. I can ride the wave, when we do the mindfulness, right? So what do you think the saboteur is saying? Okay, if I didn't have to work so hard, I could do this.
Yeah, if my saboteur didn't have to work so hard to protect me, it could put energy into sailing forward.
I like it. To put energy into sailing forward. Okay. So now we know that the saboteur really cares about you,
Mhm.
cares about little you that felt very alone, abandoned, hurt, had a belief that she didn't matter or wasn't as important as others. Okay. And so your inner saboteur is trying to protect you from having that reminder,
Mhm.
right? It might hold you back from doing things because you might have to do them alone,
Right.
right? And if you do them alone, that's a huge reminder of some pain.
Yeah, it's a trigger.
It's a trigger. Yeah. And if he didn't have to worry about protecting you from that, you said to put energy into sailing forward.
Mhm.
Okay. So what would that look like for you, putting energy into sailing forward?
Um, I mean, maybe not worrying so much about having to do it alone because that doesn't mean that I'll always be alone. Like I can't find like if we're sticking with the ship analogy, I can't find new crewmates if I don't explore new islands.
Okay. And won't always be alone. All right. I'm going to ask you to do something. Okay.
Mhm.
I want to ask you to close your eyes. Okay. And see if you can see or feel or sense the inner saboteur.
Okay.
So if you can see, feel, or sense the inner saboteur, I'd like to know if you can access when it shows up, where does it reside in your body? What does it look like? So that we can become more aware of when it's present and then how to attune to it
Hmm.
whenever you're ready. And if you can't right now, you can't.
It's kind of like a lump in my throat, like I'm about to cry. That's what my inner saboteur feels like.
Of course. Okay. All right. All right. So a lump in your throat. Want to cry. Okay. Now I'm going to throw a little stick in the spoke there. How are you doing?
Good.
You doing okay? All right. My guess, and I don't know, I wonder if it's possible that the lump in your throat and that you want to cry is actually what the inner saboteur is trying to prevent you from doing, or from feeling, from feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then if that's the case, then they're two different things, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it's possible that the lump in your throat and I want to cry is more like your inner child, or the one that felt or believed that she was all alone and didn't matter.
Yeah, I could see that being the case.
Yeah. Okay. So the inner saboteur is really aware of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel towards the inner saboteur who's very aware of that inner child?
Well, I can't really be mad at it. It's just trying to protect me. It's just a little misguided on how it can protect me now, because I'm not that inner child anymore. I mean, it has a big part of my life, but I'm not a kid anymore. And I have to look after me now and not after me then in some ways.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So there's another part that has more experience, more awareness, and that part can maybe show up or enter the room, right? When things are going down, feeling sad, alone. Inner saboteurs like, no, danger, danger, don't go there, right?
Right.
So,
because I know I'm not alone. Like, even though I did feel very alone for a long time, like I do have really good friends now and certain family members that I can go to and talk to. And I don't know, I've got a lot of different people in my community now. Coworkers I made from my job in Washington. Like, I met so many people as a caregiver that I still am in touch with on Facebook and stuff. So I'm not really alone.
not really alone. Okay. So maybe that part that can say all of these things. No, I do have a support system. I'm not really alone. Maybe that part can also show up for and talk to inner child, wounded child, whatever you want to call that, and the saboteur at the same time.
Yep. Sit them down and have a little chat.
Just have a little chat. Okay. So you can work with your therapist on that, right? Like to further this discussion. But for a final question in doing this part, I want to ask the inner child. Okay. How could you, inner child, or self, higher self, which is the part that's going to come back and have a conversation, whoever wants to talk, can you reassure the saboteur that you will not get overwhelmed or shut down and stop sailing your boat? Okay. I'm asking you, do you have access to that you can say, okay, if you can picture your inner child, again, do this with your therapist, to maybe spend some time connecting with that part, and asking, can you make a promise you won't get overwhelmed? But for here, we'll say, what can I do We're going to let the saboteur go sail and be free. What can I do to not become overwhelmed with a sense of being alone? Or shut down.
Mhm.
Okay, so this will be your final card here. Okay.
Mhm. Step.
Ah, wow, look at that. 3 kings.
King of Swords.
Mhm.
Is that a bird? It's got a bird.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, like, kind of reminds me of like keeping a bird's eye, like seeing the bigger picture.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Seeing the bigger picture, being very wise, using wise mind,
Mhm.
right? Practical. So how translate that for me? What would that look like if your inner child starts to feel overwhelmed or wants to shut down, and the saboteur shows up and says, hey, no, wait, like we have
to stop the boat.
like, whoa. Okay. So tell me what that's really going to look like for you. Higher perspective, wise mind.
I guess it would be like stopping myself and having that conversation with those two parts of me, being like, no, I've learned a lot in life and I can handle this. That doesn't these overwhelming feelings don't mean that I have to stop. Like,
Okay.
we've got a whole world ahead of us.
Okay. So you'll stop and have that conversation and
Mhm.
remind yourself. Okay. About your past experiences with success and how far you have come, all the work
Mhm.
that you have done, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Um, so what did you think about this?
That was pretty helpful. Like, I wouldn't have really made the connections that I did with like some of those saboteur things and my grandparents and whatnot if we hadn't really gone through those cards.
Very interesting. Yeah. So you're learning more about maybe parts that are operating within yourself.
Mhm.
Now, I was
How to
about to pick all of these up, and I just realized I need to keep them down because I'm going to send you a picture, right?
oh, forgot about that part too.
Mhm. Now, again, I'd want to, I kind of forget what I'm doing in terms of we're also exploring your North and South Node.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have here like your North Node energy, right?
Mhm.
And we actually have here, now King of Swords, that would be Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. That's how, some people might say it's one or the other, but when I'm seeing the swords and I'm seeing the swords up here with the Knight of Swords, I'm also seeing air,
South
Gemini.
Node of Gemini would be the South Node.
Mhm. This is going to be, the Knight is a younger energy.
Mm.
And, when we explored it, this was your younger self.
Mhm.
Magical thinking and telling yourself certain things, right? And
Right.
this is more integrating the logical self
Mhm.
that has enough information to say, no, it's not magical thinking. This isn't what you told yourself when you were younger, really isn't it.
Wasn't the truth.
It wasn't the truth, no. And you did have experiences that were very hurtful.
Mhm.
And so we can integrate all of that and say, yes, it makes sense that you might feel scared, or you might want, or the saboteur is going to show up, all of these things, right? So we can, remain balanced in wise mind, right? Okay.
Right.
So
Get caught in my feelings.
yes, not caught in your feelings, based in childhood beliefs,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and explore. How much time? We got like 12, 12 minutes, something like that.
Super quick.
Yeah, just really kind of quick. I want to see if we can access any past lives that might be contributing to any of this, okay? And see what comes up. So we want to see if there's any past lives. I'm kind of sitting here debating, like, should I pull the cards or am I gonna have you pull them? I think I'm gonna have you pull them, and we'll pull. Let's just pull two, because we've got the two Gemini or air signs here, okay?
Gosh, I've been thinking so hard. I'm getting a headache.
Oh no, are you? Should we
Yeah.
stop? Are you ready to stop?
No,
Okay.
I also have gotten back on keto, and so I know headaches are a part of that too. So maybe I'm just extra sensitive.
Okay. Yeah. Is it you get headaches on keto because
When you first start, I think it's like the body adjusting to not having so many carbs.
okay, gotcha. Okay, so we're gonna pull two, and we're asking uh what possible past lives could be contributing to what I'm going through in this life,
Okay.
or maybe right now, however you want to look at it. Okay, so just tell me when.
Stop.
Okay, I'm gonna put this one over here, or put it over on that one, and we'll pick another one.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back up to the top.
Stop.
Well, okay. The first one, we have imprisonment or slavery,
Oh no.
right? I know, I'm like, woo, okay. We've all lived these, big lives before.
Mhm.
Okay. And the second one, so interesting, wisdom.
Wisdom, which is the other card.
It's like, yes, which is, we put it right there with wisdom, balance.
I think you could also kind of put imprisonment and slavery with the child type card, because sometimes that's what it feels like, that you're kind of trapped in this life. You don't
Yeah.
really control as a kid. Like you're just kind of with whatever
Mm-hmm.
have going on at the moment.
Yeah. You're definitely not, don't have a sense of being able to be free to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, like you said, you're trapped in whatever's going on in the moment. Can't
Mm-hmm.
really escape that. Do you have any other associations with even like in your family line, generational, anything that has anything to do with imprisonment or slavery? Anything?
Maybe. Why? So my family is like very, very diverse. So my dad's side of the family is actually from Mexico. So they could potentially have had some of that going on or oppression. And my stepdad is Black. So I know for sure on his side of the family that he
Right.
had slavery. And he was, I basically call him my dad because he was there from when I was 4 onward. So I think he raised me more than my own dad did.
Really?
Mhm,
Okay. Wow, that is really interesting.
mhm.
Okay. What impact did he have on you as a child? Again, only share what you're comfortable with sharing. And I don't know. So when I ask these questions, I don't know your, okay,
You
you protect yourself. Okay.
um, he was in the military, so he was a very strict person, and I don't want to say aggressive, but sort of aggressive in a way. Like, yeah, so he did kind of scare me sometimes.
They're kind of scary sometimes. Well, that isn't that interesting. I mean, when you think of, oh, now my dog might start to bark, okay, because there's a dog walking by the window. Um, he's thankfully facing the other way right now. But that, I mean, look at that energy,
Mhm.
right? Mm,
Yeah, or like as a kid, he would put a timer outside the door when we showered and told us if we weren't out of the shower in 5 minutes, like we would be in trouble because he wanted us to do the same things that he would have done in the military, which is you have to get done as fast as possible.
yeah, yeah. What was that like for you?
I mean, oh, we got some children screaming over here.
Okay.
Um, I mean, it was frustrating because I didn't feel like I could take care of myself or like enjoy a shower. Like I had to do what he wanted me to do, even if it wasn't taking care of me. It really sucked. And that kind of
Yeah.
carried to adulthood. Like for a long time, I would only take 5-minute showers because that's what I grew up on. Like you can't take time out for yourself because you have to get this done fast and move on to the next thing. And then
Okay.
and when I did do like start taking showers longer than 5 minutes, some of my friends would be like, "Whoa, you took an actual shower."
So now we have a little bit more insight into potentially um, more fears or reasons to shut down and not follow your own joy, your own intuitive impulses, right? That Sagittarian, like, I want to go this way because you've been trained military style, even.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty profound. So what I'm going to ask you to do is um, just like we did last time, continue to journal, reflect on. Um, uh, did you write down these questions that I gave you?
I did not, but if you just like if you could snap a picture of it for me,
I
then
will.
I
Yeah, I definitely will.
Mhm.
And just take some more time to explore the way we did. You can even go back and explore, this piece with
Right.
stepdad, also with your therapist. Okay, so wisdom. I'm going to read this because, I know you don't know a unicorn, but do you have any associations with sort of
With
this? Does anything come up for you that is personal to you?
the movie The Last Unicorn. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like, I think it's an animated movie. I think it was made in the 70s, and it's about this. There's the last unicorn. That's the only unicorn left, and usually it will only appear to a young girl. I can't remember the reason why, but the last unicorn finally presents itself to this older woman, and she was like, "Where were you when I was young?" she so she was like, "I needed you then."
Oh my God. Right?
Mhm.
So, wow, that is beautiful. What are you, what are you going to take away?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch that movie now.
Uh-huh.
Because like it kind of brings a whole new meaning to it. But I guess the unicorn didn't know she was needed when that person was young. But
Mhm.
I think the unicorn actually says, "Well, I'm here now."
Well, I'm here now. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that can be, you can remind yourself of that,
Mhm.
right? When you have your self-talk or when you show up your higher self,
Right.
to use wise mind. I'm
I
going to read.
You'd be
Go
like, "I
ahead.
couldn't be for you then because I didn't know what I know now, but now I'm here."
Mhm. Yeah. Beautiful. This is like blowing me away. All of, this always does. It gives me chills. Um, and you know what I want to tell you? You are the second person, maybe in a couple months. I can't remember who brought that movie up, and now I feel like I need to go watch it. I'd never heard of it before,
Yeah,
and it came up
beautiful.
for another client. Um, Interesting. Well, let's see what this says. Because we were looking at past life influences as well. Okay, this card indicates that you have tremendous wisdom and knowledge from prior lifetimes that seek to resurface now. Even if you've never thought of yourself as particularly wise, this card indicates that you learned important lessons and information that will serve you and others if it's reawakened now, which is very North Node-ish.
That is true. And it kind of goes along with how lately, anytime I see like readings on like what my purpose is or what my higher self wants me to know about things, it's like you're a healer, like you're supposed to influence people and help them awaken to things, which would
That's
come with.
right. That's right. You're your big overarching sort of message, and we're out of time, but well, can you stay a little bit longer or do you need
Yeah,
to go?
I don't
Okay.
have now, so
I'll read a little bit out of the book I had marked here. Well, let me continue with this. Uh, this card can indicate that it's time for you to return to school or seek additional education of some sort. This may even be a sign that you're changing your career path.
oh Lord.
All right. Your reemerging knowledge is guiding you toward work that is more meaningful. The whole reason why you wanted to work with me, right?
Right.
This card asks you to believe in yourself and know that you have what it takes to tackle a career related to your true interests and passions.
Right.
That, more than anything, is what your North Node is all about. Trusting yourself, not the external information that's coming in and all the other people, which would be your South Node, but your North Node is. I'll just read this. So in this book, as a reminder, to anyone watching, it is from Jan Spiller, Astrology for the Soul. Okay. Now, North Node Sagittarius, goals. Okay. Creating a balanced life. Hello. These two balanced dudes here. Okay. This, I can't believe 3 Kings came up. This one, following inspiration, being a leader, following their passions, inspired leadership, I always say. Sagittarius North Node people are learning to trust themselves and their inner knowledge of what is true. Theirs is an irrational kind of knowing, an intuitive feeling about the truth of a situation. Because it's irrational, they often question their conclusions, and their ability to make decisions becomes paralyzed. But when they trust logic as an accurate barometer of the situation, they generally lose. As long as they trust their inner knowledge, they generally win. Sagittarius North Node people worry about others' responses to every move they make.
That's too accurate.
They jump past their intuitive knowing to what they should do to please everyone. Their challenge in this lifetime is to stick with what they feel and take action appropriate to their initial knowing. Once they've made a decision, other people come into alignment with them and give them support and strength. It's simple. They have such complex minds that it can be challenged to defy their logic and instead trust the simplicity of their intuition. These folks are strongly motivated to help others, but they need to recognize that the best help that they can be in this lifetime is to share with others what they're intuitively given, allowing themselves to be a channel for their gifts and keeping their ego and their second guessing out of the way. As long as their motive is pure, Sagittarius North Node people can trust their inner knowing in any situation. So, pretty spot on, right?
Yeah.
With what you're doing. But what I also like to do, and if I didn't tell you this last time, oh, I think I did. We talked about, our narratives. And yes, you can read about North Node, but I think what's really interesting is to add on your actual life that you've lived and how you are going to tell the story of the development of you moving from South Node to North Node. And you've got these players now, and I'm understanding more about some of the players in your drama, right? The ones that required you to go through this arc, to go through this drama. So really fascinating. And again, I want you to journal, okay? On all of this, and I will send you a picture. But any final thoughts on what I just read, reading out of here? Any final thoughts?
No, it's just really kind of fascinating how things that happened to me when I was so young have affected me and how I live today. And I didn't even realize it. Just blows my mind. And I can kind of be thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can apply some of the strategies that we used in talking to the saboteur. What was your role? Maybe
Right.
even in therapy.
The saboteur a little bit better too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and again, you can work on that in therapy. That's therapy world. And this is coaching. We're trying to move forward here, but I think it's really important that that you're able to take these tools or thought processes and help you to work through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And make sense of it and tell your story in a new way.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I will send you pictures and the questions, and then you're just going to do your journaling, and I'll see you next week.
Okay, I'll see you then.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.